Alright, we're live, and we're live on Periscope, we're live on YouTube, and right now we're about to not go live on Anchor, but we're about to start recording on Anchor. Here we are on Anchor right now. Anchor is my app that allows me to stream my podcasts now from, anywhere from between like Google Play, SoundCloud, Spotify. I know a lot of you have Spotify, so that's a good place to listen to. Pitcher, Stitcher, a bunch of these different podcasting apps. So if you're interested, hey, hello Jorge, hello Joe. If you're interested in listening to my podcasts, not video but just audio, you can go ahead and check out my Anchor and check out my Anchor page, and it's on a bunch of different apps. So if you got Spotify or Google Play or whatever it is, you can find it there. And I'm gonna keep uploading this audio. I'm recording it on this microphone, and I'm just gonna keep uploading these every night after I do these. And so you'll have it both on YouTube, on Periscope, and Twitch. Although I something's happening with my Twitch. Somebody hacked my Twitch, and I haven't figured it out since. I haven't really made time to do that, but for now this is good. And hello Rosemary. And so tonight's topic is going to be a little bit different. Should human-animal hybrids be granted personhood rights? I'm just so into this, and I feel like I always drive everybody crazy by talking about it, just because it's like, like Pardes, just talk about something else. But I love the idea of genetically engineered humans and animals. It's crazy, and it's crazy that we're already doing this kind of stuff. It's 2019. Scientific development is moving fast, and it's really exciting. It's really exciting. I don't know why I'm mixing up my words tonight. But first of all, I just want to say, this is very random, but my birthday is June 27th, but today I went out with my team at work, with my PR team at work, because that's what I work in now. It's PR, and my boss got me like this, birthday cake and ice cream and thing, and it was the nicest thing ever. It was like a birthday dessert, and so that was really exciting. And it's good to have a good boss. Having a good boss that you work for, it just changes everything. Like, suddenly, it's kind of like when you're in school and you have a good teacher and suddenly you like that subject. You have a good boss, suddenly you like whatever it is that you're doing, even though, I've never really done PR before until I started working for this person. I had, but not really, not full time. So this is actually, it's a really nice thing to have, and I felt like I should mention that. Life development, life event. It's nice to meet people who are nice, and unfortunately not a lot of them exist in media, because media is so stressful and fast-paced. Thank you for the birthday wishes, everybody. It's early. Don't say happy birthday yet. 2 more days of being 25. And yeah, it's nice to see that other industries do have nice people. So and I did a poll with you guys today. Part of the reason why I stopped talking a lot about politics, I still talk a little bit about politics, but part of the reason why I've been trying to refrain from saying big things, big political stuff, is because of work. It's kind of difficult to be open about your political opinions when you're representing clients who have all sorts of different political opinions on all sides of the spectrum, and people who don't have interest in being affiliated with any sort of politics whatsoever. Mostly, and you know, this one that I'm working for, it's mostly people who work in healthcare and education. And the most interesting thing is these like innovative healthcare related stuff, like medical supplies and all these different ideas and inventions that people have, and I think it's really cool. So I'm really happy to be doing this. I was a life science major in undergrad. I studied human biology and genetics, and it was like, it's nice to be able to go back to that a little bit and not care so much about politics. Even though I lost so many followers just from not talking about politics. I mean, at this point, like even this morning was different than what it is now. Like, even since this morning, I lost like 100 followers. At this point, it's about 1,300. I lost about 1,300 followers because I have limited talking about politics. Which, like, I go back and forth, like, oh no, maybe I should do this tweet that's about, you know, about politics. Maybe I should retweet these people who are being political. You know, let me get those people back. But, you know, at the end of the day, I was talking to my friend Daniel Bostic. You guys know Daniel. He was on this live stream. He's coming back on this live stream next week, which is really exciting. He's gonna come back and visit. And so I was talking to Daniel today, and Daniel's like, you know what? This is like a blessing, and people don't realize it, but it doesn't matter how many followers you have. It matters it matters the relationship that you have with your followers right now. You don't want just everybody in your space that's not helpful. If they're following you for something that you don't even care about, then what good is it going to do to you? Are they going to like support you? Or are they, you know, like as soon as you don't say the thing that they like, they're gone. And with real followers that you've built a relationship with, real connections online that they've seen you being yourself and they liked that. So they're not gonna just disappear because you said something that they didn't agree with or they didn't like. And it was really nice to hear Daniel say that because Daniel has a lot of experience, and it really feels true. I very much appreciate the kind of engagement that I have, and that's something that I feel very lucky for. It's good to have like real connections online. All right, so back to this topic. I'm really excited, by the way, that Daniel's coming. I don't know if Daniel's on here. He might be a little late, but Daniel Bostic is I've done a few live streams with him at this point. He is great. He's like very loved by the viewers. And last time we talked about religion. So anyway, okay, so human-animal chimera. So basically, a human-animal chimera is basically a hybrid. It's a mix between a human and animal. And what's the point of having a mix between a human and animal? Well, we already have people doing surgeries on humans using animal organs, right? Like, you're missing I don't know, what do they use right now? You're missing like a heart. You need like a heart transplant. They can't find a human heart donor fast enough. They'll use like a cow heart or something. Is that okay? Dove Altman, I see you. Dove Altman asked me about Cassandra Fairbanks coming on. She didn't come here Friday night, so you're all good. She might come here during the week, which is great for anyone who's keeping Shabbat Friday nights. So I just wanted to tell you guys that since some of you have been asking about Friday night live streams. What if someone's here on a Friday night live stream and you're keeping Shabbat or you're busy or whatever. So Cassandra's hopefully gonna be here sometime during the week, which is really exciting. All right. So it's really cool because there's so much that researchers can do right now that they're not doing, just because of all these different regulations. Because governments are freaked out. It's basically like if all these regulations ended on research, we would turn into the island of Dr. Moreau. All these mad scientists would be creating clones, human clones. They've already done it with sheep, right? They've created sheep clones in Japan. And they're going to do it with humans too. Human clones. You could just, your body's shit. You have cancer. You're about to die in 2 days. Create a clone of yourself. Just walk around like a healthy human being, a new person. And you're there. You're still... You're totally perfect. Genetically engineer someone that your perfect soulmate. Genetically engineer your perfect soulmate. Genetically engineer the kind of child you want to have. Create a child without giving birth to it because you don't want to ruin your belly or whatever. All this really interesting stuff that is possible technically. Is possible, but we're not doing because we don't know enough about it and we don't want to do all these regulations. So Felix is asking, what do I think about CRISPR splicing? So basically like gene splicing. I think people do it already, right? People choose, like you can choose which part, if you're like, if you are artificially inseminating your egg if you're trying to have a baby, and I think people are already doing this where they're like they're picking out parts of like the sperm DNA that they want, or like the egg DNA that they want inside their baby. You can pick like, hair color, eye color, I don't know, certain qualities of a child, and like how long do you want the toe to be. So yeah, someone is asking how many kids I want. I am not gonna share that with you because I don't know. A lot of kids. That's all I'm gonna say. A lot of kids. So, there's a lot, and it's funny because I grew up very religious, and I'm not anymore. But something interesting is that we would talk about when the afterworld, Tachiyat HaMetim. It's like, after, I don't know, like when at the end of the world, or whenever the Messiah comes and the world is just, goes into upheaval, and then there's a rebirth and all that stuff. It probably sounds like I'm talking a bunch of gibberish. But anyway, there is a concept of the rebirth of the world in which everyone comes back as the perfect version of themselves. Everybody who is ever on this planet comes back to life as the perfect version of themselves. And this is what it makes me think of, to be honest. Like, this is that point in time where people can come back to life as the perfect versions of themselves. You could be literally dying, you could be dead, and scientists can genetically engineer a perfect version of you back to life. That's That's crazy, man. I don't know. They say that only God can give life, but I'm kidding. I mean, it is life. It's creating life from another life. Um, it's genetically engineering a life from an existing life. And everyone's saying that I'm crazy, but they're doing it already. How could they have created a clone already? They've already started creating clones of animals. How's it possible? They've already started doing it. If they already were able to do it with animals, why wouldn't they be able to do it with humans? Why wouldn't they be able to do it with us? The only reason they're not doing it with us is because the governments are regulating it. If not for the governments regulating it, there's no reason why they wouldn't be doing it. This place would literally turn into the island of Dr. Moreau. If anyone has not read the book The Island of Dr. Moreau, it's a really trippy book. It's about this guy. He's a doctor, right? He's like a mad scientist sort of guy, and he lives in like I read this so long ago, but he lives in like a cave or something, and an island, and he basically like creates all these different types of animal mixtures. He basically is like, he has like this, he just likes to build different types of animals and Dove Altman says the Golem of Prague. The Golem, everyone look up the Golem of Prague. That's another example. And that one is also really cool. But anyway, so the island of Dr. Moreau, this mad scientist guy, mad doctor guy, he creates like all these, it's like his it's like his playpen. Like he basically just plays around with different types, and he creates different organisms, like living animals and humans, that are just bizarre creatures. And then he like performs experiments on them, and he puts them in cages and ties them up, and because it's like exciting for him to be able to do these experiments on these weird animal humans that he's created, basically monsters that he's created. And then what happens is eventually all these animals, human, animal, whatever creations, break out, they cause upheaval, and it's just turns into a shit show. And they all go to war and try to kill each other. I don't remember what happens, but I think they eat him. I think they eat Dr. Moreau, if I'm not mistaken. What happens to Dr. Moreau? The Island of Dr. Moreau. Alright. Oh, it's such a creepy book. It is the creepiest. So, the main theme, oh wow, it was written in 1896. Wow, that's old. The main theme of the book, the main theme of The Island of Dr. Moreau is the lack of ethics in dissection and animal testing. So it's a science fiction novel written by English author H.G. Wells, and let's see. Dr. Moreau is killed. See, I told you, Dr. Moreau is killed. Basically what happens, a puma escapes its enclosure. Moreau follows it after they end up killing each other. Later that evening, Montgomery is killed, leaving Prendrick as the only remaining human on the island. Let's see who Prendrick is. So it's just a bunch of little like weird animal monsters living on an island, and basically they kill each other, and there's only one left. So why aren't our governments allowing for these human animal creatures to be created? First of all, that might seem like an obvious given to you, like, oh wow, why would our government want weird human-animal combinations walking around? Well, here's why. Because there's only a limited number of humans that can donate their organs to people who need it. And every year, more and more and more people need organ transplants, and there are long lists, and some people never get to them, and we desperately need more organ donors. What if we did not have to harvest human organs, and instead we can just harvest animal organs, but not animal organs? Human organs that are perfectly genetically engineered for that specific organ receiver, right? So like, imagine if you had a special organ created, you needed a liver, and you had a genetically engineered liver created just for you. And they would grow it inside an animal instead of inside a human, because you would have like, okay, well actually they have done this. This is another book. Okay, I forgot the name of it. My Little Sister, is that what it's called? Genetically, My Sister's Keeper. Oh my god, this book is crazy. Okay. This book, My Sister's Keeper, is about parents whose first daughter is sick, or she has like a kidney disease. Anyway, let's see. My Sister's Keeper, first movie based on a novel by best-selling author Jodi Picoult, confronts more subtle challenges posed by contemporary genetic and reproductive techniques. Instead of imagining worlds transformed, it focuses on family dynamics. The story revolves around 13-year-old Anna, a child created in order to serve as a matched tissue donor for her older sister, Kate, who suffers from leukemia. Anna's umbilical cord blood is harvested when she is born. As she gets older, she undergoes a series of progressively more invasive and risky procedures to provide bone marrow and other tissues for her sister. But after a remission, Kate's cancer returns. Now Kate needs a kidney, and Anna's parents assume she will make one of hers available. But Anna has a different idea. She hires a lawyer to help her become medically emancipated from her family. So that's an example of parents genetically engineering a child for the purpose of being an organ donor for their other child. So this one child has leukemia, organs deteriorating, needs bone marrow, needs blood transfusions. The parents genetically engineer another child with the perfect blood type, with the perfect organs, just so that this second child can serve the first child as an organ donor. And that's the idea. Imagine if you did that, except so that would be so I mean, it's crazy, right? You're basically growing a human with human feelings and human thoughts and a human soul, and you're basically treating it as non-human. You're treating that human as like a slave, but even worse. You're using that human for their organs. It's like the worst kind of violation of a being possible. Like the most inhumane form of using somebody, growing a human being, just to giving birth to a child just so you can use their organs. It's pretty sad. It's a pretty crazy idea. But human animal hybrids are literally the same idea. It's you're growing a genetically engineered animal that you infuse with human stem cells for a specific organ to grow inside that animal. that animal will be born for the sake of being your organ donor. And so people say, okay, that's fine, because you're using animal organs to save a human's life. Same thing, we do the same thing with regular animals. We do heart transplants with cow hearts. We put them in humans, and so it's the same exact idea. You are genetically engineering, let's say, a pig without a heart, and instead of the pig heart, you infuse that pig with human stem cells so that the pig grows a human heart instead of a pig heart. So the pig is growing with a human heart, and then once it gets big enough, you can donate that human heart. You can and the point of growing them inside these animals, like a pig, for example, is that the pig grows really quickly, so the heart is going to grow quickly too. So you'll have it in time for the patient who needs a transplant. So it's like the perfect idea, right? It's like the perfect combination. You have your heart, the patient's happy, everybody's happy except for the pig, and there you go, and you don't have to harvest a human's organ because you already have it perfectly created for the human. But the NIH says, wait a minute, let's see what the NIH is saying. All right. NIH. All right, the NIH is saying that what if the animals become a little too human? What if the amount of organs and tissues that grow in the animals make the animal more human than the animal? Is that a crazy idea? What if there becomes more human tissue in the animal than animal tissue? Is that a person? Like, if an animal is more than 50% human, that's a human. That's like basically a person with just like animal parts. And even if the animal is not over 50% human, but is enough human that it can have human thoughts and human feelings, that would be kind of scary. NIH ethicist David Resnick said, "We are not near the island of Dr. Moreau, but science moves fast, and the specter of an intelligent mouse stuck in a laboratory somewhere screaming, 'I want to get out,' would be very troubling to people." And he's referring to an experiment they did with mice. They infused like human neurons in the mice. So basically these mice are walking around with like a human nervous system, and the NIH says we are worried about the chance that the animal's cognitive state would be altered if they ended up with human brain cells. So that's an ethical reason to be against it. What if the animals are more human than animal, and they're walking around with like as if they're human? So all right, so there are still a bunch of these projects happening around the country. They're waiting for the green light from the NIH. They're waiting for the green light to like continue these certain research projects, and they're already working on the stuff that they can work on within the bounds of the regulations. Okay, I'm just checking to make sure. All right. We are halfway through this podcast on Anchor. In case you just got here, everything that I'm saying right now in here, Periscope and YouTube, is being recorded here on Anchor. Anchor is where I record these podcasts in order to stream them on other podcasting apps like Google Play, SoundCloud, Spotify, Pitcher, or whatever it's called. And you can listen to these while you're driving in your car. You're going to sleep. You don't have to always watch this. You can listen to the audio too while you're doing other things. And I got that idea from you guys, by the way, because some of you were saying that you were listening to these while doing other things. So this hopefully is going to be more convenient. Daniel Gary, a cardiologist who leads a chimera project at the University of Minnesota, says, "We can make an animal without a heart. We have engineered pigs that lack skeletal muscles and blood vessels. And while such pigs aren't viable, they can develop properly if a few cells are added from a normal pig embryo." So Gary says he's already melded 2 pigs in this way and recently won a $1.4 million grant from the U.S. Army, which funds some biomedical research to try and grow human hearts in swine. This is from the Technology Review, by the way. It's the paper, the magazine Tech Review. So there seems to be enough of a reason for it. Let's see why else the NIH is against it. No one has done this, by the way. No one has injected. No one has injected human brain cells. No one has injected human brain cells in animal. They've tried with other stuff, apparently. Ross, this guy, what's this guy's name? Pablo Ross, a veterinarian developmental biologist at the University of California, Davis, said that in 2014, they had decided to begin impregnating farm animals with human animal embryos. Oh wow, so they already did this. Ross says at Davis, he has transferred about 6 sets of pig-human embryos into sows in collaboration with the Salk Institute and established another 8 or 10 pregnancies of sheep-human embryos with... Oh my god. That's crazy. Another 3 dozen pig transfers have taken place outside of the U.S., he says. Wow. That's insane. Oh my gosh. So basically what they're doing is they're impregnating animals with like human animal embryos. So like a half human, half pig growing inside a farm animal. So basically your animal's giving birth, your farm animal is giving birth to a human, like a part human. And wow. So the studies at Davis began only after review by 3 different ethics committees, and even then, he says, the university decided to be cautious and limit the time the animals would be allowed to develop to just 28 days. A pig is born in 114 days. So it seems like they're allowing the animals to develop for a certain amount of time and then ending it, maybe aborting these human animal embryos in order for it to not be like an ethical problem. By then, the embryonic pig is only a ½ inch long, though that's developed enough to check if human cells are contributing to its rudimentary organs. We don't want them to grow to stages that we don't need to, since that would be more controversial, says Ross. My view is that the contribution of human cells is going to be minimal, maybe 3%, maybe 5%, but what if they contributed to 100% of the brain? What if the embryo that develops is mostly human? It's something we don't expect, but no one has done this experiment, so we can't rule it out. This is crazy, man. So they've already started like the process of creating human-animal hybrids, having animals give birth to human-animal hybrids, and then not give birth, sorry, impregnating animals with human-animal hybrids. So basically, they can monitor how the human-animal hybrid is growing inside these other animals, and they can confirm that yes, as we had expected, this organism is growing as half human, as part human, part animal, and it's working like we expected. Now that we've confirmed that it's working, we can terminate the pregnancy and we don't have to continue going through with it, because then it's an ethical issue. But so they treat it as like aborting the pregnancy of the animal. But imagine if they just let it happen. They never did because of these rules, but imagine if they did and the animal gave birth to a human-animal hybrid. It's crazy. Dove Altman says some Israeli scientists created a 3D printed heart from human tissues. I heard about that. That's crazy. That probably is a lot more ethically viable. That's way more likely to be approved than this. Felix says the Chinese probably did. This stuff is mad. Wow. Other kinds of human-animal chimeras are already widely used in scientific research, including humanized mice endowed with a human immune system. Such animals are created by adding bits of liver and thymus from a human fetus collected after an abortion to a mouse after it is born. Wow, this is like a huge mishmash. So basically they take human babies after an abortion, human babies that are aborted, they take bits and pieces of the human baby that was aborted, and then they add it inside, they like inject it inside these mice to see what happens. The new line of research goes further because it involves placing human cells into an animal embryo at the very earliest stage, when it is a sphere of just a dozen cells in a laboratory dish. This process, called embryo complementation, is significant because human cells can multiply, specialize, and potentially contribute to any part of the animal's body as it develops. In 2010, while working in Japan, Nakachuhi, this Japanese scientist who does all these mad experiments that are not allowed in the United States, but they're apparently allowed there. So this guy used the embryo complementation method to show he could generate mice with a pancreas made entirely of rat cells. If it works as it does in rodents, he said, we should be able to have a pig with a human organ. So he's basically demonstrating that you can fertilize with the cells. You can he has an idea for a pig man, or his critics are calling it a pig man, where he could grow human pigs. Human pigs! It's crazy. Felix says, what animal body part or ability would you want to have? I would have wings. That would be pretty cool. And I'm sure they could do that. The same way that they can grow human organs inside of animals, I'm sure they can grow animal organs inside of humans. Nobody does it because nobody wants to have, like, animal parts, but you could. Like, I'm sure they could do it just as easily, and they wouldn't even have, like, these ethical problems as much. They probably would, but not as much, because it's no longer like an animal walking around with human thoughts and feelings. It's like you're already human, and you just have, like, these animalistic qualities. You just bite people. No big deal. You're just human with big fangs, and you just walk around biting people. Desert Spider says humans should only be genetically engineered with sloth heads. Mechmaniacal says women always pick wings. Yes, you wouldn't pick wings. I'm sure a lot of men would also pick wings. I don't know, maybe I'd pick wings. What else would I pick? Maybe I'd get, like, peacock feathers. Although I would, but that's only male peacocks, so I would have to have female peacock feathers, which are gross. Ew. I do not want female Why do they make, like, I don't get it. Why are the male animals always better looking than the female animals? Isn't that, like, a little sexist, right? Stupids. I'm kidding. But yeah, no, all the male animals are just always better looking. So I'm glad I'm not an animal, because then I would be ugly ass, and I'd have to court better looking men. It would be just so tiring. All these, it would be like courting, like, a bunch of, like, absorbed, like, while looking like a butt face. So, someone is saying strong legs like a horse. I don't care to have strong horse legs. I can just wear, like, heavy boots and kick people. It'd be fine. Alex says female lions are pretty. Male lions are way cooler. Are you kidding me? Male lions are way cooler looking. Alright, so what else do we have about this? The legal aspect of human-animal chimeras. It's an opinion piece by John Loika. Let's see who John Loika is. Who this guy? John Loika is an American research biologist and bioethicist in Columbia University. He is 69 years old. Haha. Kidding. So John Loika, Loike, writes an opinion piece in The Scientist on the legal protections that human-animal chimera might be entitled to. All right. He says, all right. So there's ethical fear in human-animal hybrids that these technologies may generate animals that incorporate human cells into their brains or sex organs, situations that require broader discussions regarding the question whether such organisms attain the status of personhood. So apparently, the status of personhood relates to the brain or the sex organs. Brain, because if the animal develops a human conscience, then that's one thing that can cause them to a human consciousness. The animal develops human consciousness because of the human brain cells. That's one thing that can lead to personhood. The other thing is sex organs. The animal has human sex organs and can give birth to humans, and an organism that is born human is automatically legally given rights to personhood. An animal that is born from a human organs, from a human sex organs, human reproductive organs, born from a human. If you're a human, you are a human. A human who, if you as a human give birth to an animal, like if you are some mad scientist genetically engineers an animal to be like implanted in your womb or anyway, you get impregnated by an animal somehow, and you give birth to an animal as a human, you give birth to an animal, your child is automatically granted personhood legally because it was born from you. Even if they genetically engineer just an animal, straight up animal to be born to you, that's legally a personhood. Even if it's not considered a human being, that's different from the rights to personhood. So that's what they mean by sex organs. For example, says John Loika, the bioethicist at Columbia University, who apparently lives in Sweden or is from Sweden. For example, there is a percent composition of human neurons incorporated into an animal's brain that renders such a chimera human. I just tripped over my words. Similarly, other stem cell technologies exist to create mice that produce human sperms or eggs. If human gametes from these mice are used to generate a healthy baby, would that baby be considered human? That's it's a good question. So that's like if a animal gives birth to a human. So you're basically a human born from an animal. Are you granted personhood rights? You're a human born to an animal. Your parents are an animal. Your mom's a monkey. Your dad's a chimp. And you are a human. You are not legally granted personhood just because of being born to animals. You might get it because you have like a human conscious, and you can demonstrate like the ability to think like a human. And they were talking about in New York, they were talking about potentially granting personhood to the first two animals ever, chimpanzees or orangutans. Granting personhood to orangutans. Granting personhood to orangutan, because their brains are so similar to humans. They're like 98, chimps are 98% human brains. Wow. An orangutan has already been granted rights of personhood in Argentina. That is freaking insane. Whoa. How did I not know this? An orangutan, because they're highly intelligent creatures, and they have a lot of their brain is like they have a lot of human makeup in their brain. If that makes sense. Their brains are a lot of their brain is identical to human brains. So, my batteries are almost dying. That means I will have to go soon. Okay. So Argentina gives personhood rights, not completely, but some personhood rights to an orangutan. So this is in 2014. Animal rights advocacy groups had worked to free primates from captivity by representing them in court, fighting for the animals' rights to be recognized as non-human people. So they get peoplehood rights as animals. These like animal rights organizations. are representing animals in court. So they're actually like going to court and representing animals. This is wild. Habeas corpus petitions are typically filed when a human is unrightfully detained or imprisoned. But animal rights groups say that intelligent, non-human primates, and perhaps even other animals, should be given the basic rights of personhood as well. So chimpanzees, apparently, this has been going on for a while, and they have not been granted personhood rights yet. But an Argentinian orangutan has won her habeas corpus case. The Association of Officials and Lawyers for Animal Rights argued that Sandra, a 29-year-old orangutan who's lived in Argentinian zoos for most of her life, is too intelligent to be considered an object. And unlike in the United States, the court actually agreed. The Buenos Aires Zoo had 10 days to file an appeal. If they don't, it's not as if Sandra will be let out in the street or sent to the wild. She may have the basic rights of personhood, but no one is saying she can live as human. Instead, Sandra's freedom will be in a sanctuary where she can live with others of her species and avoid gawking humans. So it's kind of weird because they want her to be granted personhood rights. But she can't live on her own because she's not a human, actually. So like they're not actually sending her out to the wild. They're like, okay, we need this animal to be recognized as a human. And so now that this animal is recognized as human, we will keep her locked up again because she's an animal and she's not human. All right, this is interesting. Let's see. It's interesting that this win came through for an orangutan and not a chimp. While both of these great apes are highly intelligent, chimps are very social, while orangutans are generally loners. I mean, chimps are like socially very much like humans. The only thing that chimp brains have different than human brains is chimp brains are unable to infer things the way that human brains can. They have like everything there, like almost identical to human brains, except they can't like connect the boxes the way that we can. So that's interesting. They can memorize everything. Yeah, okay. Let's check on Sandra real quick before moving on to the next thing. I just want to check on Sandra. Sandra, the Argentinian orangutan. And let's see what happened to her. Where the hell is she? What's happening with her? Sandra the orangutan. She's still living in the Buenos Aires Zoo. She she's still there, apparently. She's still at the zoo. So she's basically like granted personhood, but she's still in the zoo because she can't take care of herself because she's not a human. And so they just left it. I mean, the last piece that I can see about it is like 2016. Freedom still distant for Sandra the orangutan. It's funny. Like right next to the headline where it says like Sandra the orangutan, freedom is still distant. There's another headline like very recently of a zoo volunteer loses their thumb because an orangutan like reached over the gate and bit their thumb off. So I don't know why I find that funny. I'm sorry for whoever lost their thumb. Captivity is degrading. Wow. The zoo the zoo is closing down, apparently. Okay. I'm just getting way too carried away. I'm getting really carried away by this because it seems kind of crazy to me, but human rights organizations animal rights organizations down in Argentina are so hyped up by this Sandra the orangutan, who's so smart that she should be granted personhood, that they have tried to shut down the zoo. And I don't know if the zoo is shut down yet, but or they say it was they already have begun shutting it down. And by now this happened in 2016. So by now I'm sure it's already closed down. And because of Sandra the orangutan, Steph Black is coming back, and she's coming back stronger than ever. And Steph is actually reminding me about my anchor. I have to double check. Wow. Thank you for reminding me about this, because we got 4 minutes left on Anchor. And before we hit the 4-minute mark on Anchor, because it's like an Anchor only lets me record for an hour. And so before we hit that 4-minute mark, I have to say goodbye to everybody who's listening to this podcast in the audio version. And if you want to hear more, don't forget to go to my YouTube channel and double check all the links there. You can watch this on YouTube, on Periscope, if you want to finish watching this live stream. And subscribe to my YouTube channel, Periscope, and goodbye, Anchor people. Bye. So that's kind of weird. It's awkward because I feel like I'm talking to like a different thing here, like a different person. Thanks to Steph Black for reminding me about that. So we're finished with Anchor, and anyone who's listening on the audio podcast can come here and finish watching it here. But the audio is just meant so that they can listen to it in the car or while they're doing other things. If you don't want to dedicate, your eyesight into watching this like this, and you just want to hear it like in a podcast on Spotify, you just want to hear it on Spotify as you're walking around or biking, you can hear this. And I actually started doing that with books. I started reading books on Audible, and it's so good. It's like so convenient. I just I don't even have to I just drive around. I've been driving a lot lately because I work far from home. So I've been driving a lot lately, and just hearing this audiobook. It's so convenient. I'm like almost finished reading. The book I'm reading right now is called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it's very interesting. It's a really good book, and it's all about maximizing your potential for wealth and how to invest in assets, not liabilities. Okay, that's just a little thing from it. So so this genetically engineering stuff is crazy. And for me, the thing that I'm just really waiting for is clones. And I know that there's so much that they can do. People are already, I was talking to someone earlier this week who was talking about using stem cells to fix parts of their body. Like, this person in particular had herniated discs and problems problems with broken body parts, and so they were going to use the broken beyond repair. So they were going to use human stem cells that are extracted from embryos they're going to use human stem cells in order to regrow those parts that are broken, and I don't even know how they're going to do it, but it's possible, and people are already doing it. So imagine how much more we can do. And for me, my biggest fear is cancer. Cancer is just like the most terrifying thing ever. And if they can cure cancer with this shit, because cancer it's all about genetic mutations. Like, cancer is the product of genetic mutations gone wrong. So imagine if they can use everything they know about genetic engineering and possibly use human stem cells in order to cure or at least manage cancer. Diacritical 1 says, stem cells cause so much cancer so far, lots of work needed. Interesting. Steph Black says, you have to be pro-choice to be for stem cell research. Well, I have a friend who... So my friend that I was telling you that wanted to use stem cells for stem cell research, he was saying that his one of his family members was having a baby, and they said that even if the baby, even if the baby is gonna be born anyway, you can still like take out human stem cells from the baby, even without like aborting the baby, and so that's pretty cool. And like, the topic of abortion is really interesting because with these experiments that they've already done with growing like human hybrids inside of animals and then aborting them, so I actually wonder if they would be allowed to do that in Alabama, for example. In Alabama, if they had one of these research hospitals where they like grew a human animal hybrid inside an animal, and then after before I think it's like 3 weeks or something, before like several weeks they abort. Sorry, no, it's not 3 weeks. It's like at least a month. So in the first trimester, I don't even know how long it takes for an animal, for a pig. How long is a pig pregnancy? Pig pregnancy length. How many months are pigs pregnant? Oh, wow. Okay. So up until the first trimester of the pig's pregnancy, they are legally allowed to let the human animal embryo grow in the animal, and then they abort it. So I wonder if that's considered like an abortion of a human, and would they be able to do something like that in Alabama, for instance, where they don't allow any abortions, not even first trimester. So I actually wonder about that. That would be really interesting to find out. Okay. What else do we want to know? There's so much in this topic. It's crazy. What else does everybody want? The human animal hybrids are freaking you out. Imagine if we had a society of just all kinds of different, like, instead of having like different nationalities and races and whatever, imagine if we had different, like, actual different species. Like, we had like the human pigs walking around. Like, you know how like you call people a pig? Like, so this would be real. It'd be like you'd actually be calling your friend a pig because your friend is part pig. So you'd be like, you pig. And so like there'd be like an actual community of like human pigs living here, and an actual community of like humans with wings, and then there would be like all these different human species that are not genetically identical, but that are all considered human. That'd be crazy. JCA1 says, is asking what my favorite animal is. My favorite animal is a monkey, because monkeys can climb trees, and monkeys are very smart. They're primates, and so they're smart. So they're kind of like humans in a way, but they're just like, I don't know, they're carefree. They get to like jump around in the trees. They're very light. They can like go from branch to branch. It's kind of like flying, but not. They're still, they still travel in like groups. They've got a whole social network, and they've got their families close by. So it's kind of like a nice mixture between like play and home and play. I don't know. So that's why I like monkeys. They say that your first animal that you'd want to be. So you pick your first animal that you want to be, then pick your second favorite animal that you'd want to be. The second one is who you are. The first one is who you want to be. So that's the trick to knowing a little bit about yourself. All right. Any more questions? I'm leaving. If you have other, this is actually like literally my favorite podcast or live stream, whatever. This is actually my favorite. So I want to try and do more of these if you want. If you want, you have anything you want me to explore, any weird, bizarre science fiction type of, but I don't do science fiction, like real like biohacking stuff that you think is interesting. I love genetics, anything that's related to that, and animals are very interesting. So send me your topics, and we can talk about a lot of ethical stuff. Okay, bye everyone. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and don't forget to like this video on YouTube, and don't forget to click the heart on Periscope. If you don't know how to do a like on Periscope, this is how you do it. You take your finger, and then you go like this, and you just like touch the screen, and then it just does it. Okay, good night everyone. Subscribe to my channel. See you later. Don't let the bed bugs bite.